it's not the trust who I work for that is letting us down. It is Matt Hancock and the government. My concerns is that yesterday morning me and my colleagues received a message to say that due to shortages, we would now have to share masks. Well, a week ago, we were told we needed to share masks, which are very similar to this. This is my husband's, which he has now given me to take to work. And yesterday it was, we need to share filters. Now, filters have got bacteria in them, masks have got bacteria in them. These things do not get sterilised like you would your operating equipment. They're not sterilised. My concern was that my manager asked us to share these masks with an apology, a sincere apology, because we do not have the equipment. Matt Hancock and this government have had 4 months to prepare for this. China didn't have 4 months, they had less than a week. We have had 4 months to prepare. Chris Hobson came on the television yesterday evening. He is the NHS provider and said that there has been a distribution problem. 4 months, yet I can have something ordered and delivered the next day from Amazon. It's outrageous.
Lorraine, let me ask you. You speak for so many people in the NHS. I've had so many people, and the agony is that you desperately want to help people. This is what you do. This is your job, and yet you're all being made to feel fearful, way beyond the way you should be feeling, because you're watching, I imagine, what's been happening in Italy, where I think at least 12 doctors have now died from coronavirus, and you must be thinking, all of you, what are we going into? It's a war zone, and we're going in without protective equipment.
We are going into a war zone. This is definitely something I hope as we will never have to experience any of this ever again. But if we do, I would hope that we are more prepared. We are frightened, of course we're frightened, but we're still walking through those doors, because this is why we came into the job as nurses and as doctors and as healthcare workers, porters, cleaning staff to make sure we're fed and watered. You know, these people are not shying away. None of us are shying away from this, but I cannot understand why I had to, and my colleagues had to receive that message yesterday when we are just going into this tsunami.
And Lorraine, let me ask you one question about the story of the morning, which is that so many thousands of non-essential workers have been encouraged, if they can't work from home, to go to work using public transport, going to building sites, whatever it may be, building, you know, nice fancy blocks of flats, which of course have no relevance to the coronavirus crisis. As somebody at the front line of the NHS, what do you feel about the government telling non-essential workers to go to work?
The message received from the Prime Minister a couple of nights ago was not clear enough. The message should have been a complete full lockdown. We do not need to be building flats at the minute. If one of those workers is to fall from a height and require an ICU bed, there then becomes an ethical dilemma. And it's not fair that consultants, doctors and nurses are then put under that strain to make that ethical choice as to who lives and who dies. And that is what will happen.
And Lorraine, obviously it is, on the brighter note, it is fantastic that loads of 12,000 retired nurses and doctors have volunteered now to come back in to help this battle. There are also final year medical students who are now being drafted in to come into frontline work in the hospitals. But from what you're saying, how on earth is any trust going to be able to protect thousands of extra staff when they can't even protect the ones who are doing it day in, day out now?
I've been awake for a good few nights now, not been able to sleep at all. I was awake at 3 o'clock this morning contemplating your very question. How are we going to protect these people? You know, all our supplies had to go to A&E a week ago because A&E ran out. So we put forward all our supplies to A&E. Now, there are warehouses full of this equipment, and when that runs out, there should have been more backup equipment made in the last 4 months for us to keep safe. At least try and keep us safe, keep my colleagues safe.
And Lorraine, let me ask you about the other crucial problem here, which is the lack of testing, because presumably many of your colleagues, if they feel they have any kind of symptom, are having to now, under government advice, self-isolate for 14 days if one of their kids gets a symptom, whatever. They may not even have the virus. There's no way of knowing. You know, other countries, like South Korea, for example, they're testing so much and so fast that their healthcare workers get immediately tested, and if they're negative, they go to work. We can't do that with ours.
Well, I'm not really... I can only give you how I would feel about that, and that I can't say it's the consensus in any way. I feel that if you've been exposed, so if you have intubated,
yeah.
I've got real sore throat. Well, I've not got COVID. I've had if you are at risk because you've intubated a patient, so therefore you've been exposed to possibly COVID, whether it be in a hospital setting or within your family, then yes, I feel you should be tested. However, and I must stress this, that if families are still going to mix and go from one house to another, and then, for example, if my son-in-law wanted to go and visit his parents and his dad has been out to work and then he comes home and then my daughter was to come here, which we're not allowing, we are in full lockdown, then this will spread the virus. If you test me today and I am clear, there is nothing to say that when you test me tomorrow that I won't have COVID. I think we're under pressure to get the test through. I don't know whether we've got the resources to do it. I am unaware of that, but I think that from now, if we go into a permanent lockdown and stop the tubes and stop the construction workers, my husband's self-employed, he's not gone to work this week. I feel that once we're in a permanent lockdown and we're on skeleton staff, as we would call it, then yes, then I think we need to introduce...
And Lorraine, let me ask you, if the Prime Minister and the Health Secretary are watching this interview, and I hope they are, what is your message directly to Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock?
So to Matt Hancock, you are 4 months too late. To the government, you are 4 months too late. We knew that this virus would spread across the world in December. We have had Christmas, we have had Valentine's, we have had Mother's Day since then. It is 4 months since we found out about COVID-19. To Boris Johnson, I understand why you took the steady steps, i.e. closing schools, asking people to walk 2 meters apart, to self-isolate, pregnant women, the elderly. I do understand your steps. However, in my opinion, you are a full month too late. We should have been on lockdown a full month ago.